everybody, welcome to the SongBike guitar Q&A live stream. A little bit of a different look today, right? I'm just shaking things up a little bit. Hey everybody, I hope you had a great week. Welcome. My name is Jonathan, and let's get right into some questions because we had some questions via email. So our first question came from Brian, and the question was, when is a good time to start finger picking, to delve into the world of bare finger style playing? That's a great question because finger picking is pretty impressive, right? Those of us who have zero experience with finger picking, you see someone do something and it all looks amazing. And they might tell you, oh, what I'm doing is pretty rudimentary. And you think, I don't know, it looks pretty amazing to me. So a good time to get into finger picking is when you're confident about at least one chord family. What do I mean by chord family? 3 chords that sound good together. For example, G, C, and D. That's a chord family. A, D, and E. E major. A major, D major, E major. These are all major chords. You got to be confident about at least one chord family because finger picking will make it crazy otherwise. I'm going to use A as an example. A major. Okay. Finger picking exposes any weakness in your fretting hand. So I'm isolating one string at a time, right, with my bare fingers, none of this strumming stuff. So I'm going to intentionally make one of my notes sound bad. Right? Now that's going to make you crazy. You're going to realize, you might think to yourself, I guess I can't finger pick. In reality, no, you just need more experience, more practice on that particular chord, right? So that's my first piece of advice. If you have at least 3 chords, especially chords that play nicely together, A, D, and E, G, C, and D, then you can start getting into finger picking, and the quality of the chord won't distract you, won't hinder your picking progress, right? Because you won't be making yourself nuts with any buzzing or dead sounds. In a perfect world, you'd know every chord in the book, right? But really 3 chords will get you up and running. The next thing is to dismiss the idea of wearing finger picks. Some of you don't even know what I'm talking about. Great. Some of you say, I don't know, I see people wearing a thumb pick and metal finger picks. I would discourage you from doing that unless you have some skin condition or something that prohibits you from physically touching the guitar strings, which makes no sense, right? Because your left hand's doing it. Do not worry about finger picks. It just becomes another thing that you have to keep track of and that you have to monitor and shop for. Bare fingers are fine. If you really want to go nuts, you could grow out your fingernails a little bit, but nothing wrong with using your bare skin and not your fingernails. Okay, so what you want to do first with your picking hand is learn some patterns. And I've got you covered. There we go. The Strum Pattern Bible, right? About 1/3 of that book is famous, common, popular, relatively easy picking patterns so that your right hand can get used to maintaining a pattern even while you're changing chords with your other hand. Okay, I'll put this particular pattern in the chat, okay? Not in the chat, in the when I timestamp this video, I'll put it in the timestamp. But don't wait for me to do that. You can get yourself a copy of that book right now. So repetitive patterns. That's the first step. Quick lesson on finger picking. Your thumb is in charge of the 3 bass strings, E, A, and D. Your ring finger, that's your 3rd finger, is in charge of the 1st skinny E string. Your middle finger is in charge of the 2nd B string. Your index is in charge of the 3rd G string. That means, at least for starting off, you're going to assign those fingers to those strings and stick with that with no exceptions in the beginning, okay? That means you have no doubt, or you should have no doubt, about which finger is going to be plucking which string, right? Thumb is in charge of the 6, 5, and 4, index on 3, middle on 2, ring finger on 1. because then when you learn patterns, your fingers will sort of fall naturally onto those strings, and you can focus on the overall nature of the pattern, and not worry about which finger is doing what, because pretty quickly you realize, okay, I'm about to pluck the second B string, and your middle finger will gravitate right towards that string because it's hovering right above that string, if you know what I mean. So there's my answer, Brian, to when is a good time to begin finger picking. Also, if you're motivated, and I'm sure a lot of you are, if finger picking isn't your thing, no rush. Maybe you want to rock out, man, playing power chords, or maybe you want to play electric blues guitar. No reason to worry about finger picking. But when the time is right, that's my advice. I hope that helps, Brian. How can you get this particular book? www.song-bike.com. It's electronic, meaning you get it delivered into your email inbox instantly, like that. 1/3 is finger picking patterns that go with famous songs, and 2/3 are plastic pick plectrum patterns that go with famous songs. So yeah. Now we had another question, although I don't know if it was a question as much as a sharing with us early here. William was saying that, William says, I'm hoping to get a professional Fender Stratocaster. It'll have to happen soon because I'm 70 plus. He's inspired by his son. He says, hey, you only live once. That's right. And Sweetwater has what you want. Well, there you go. Yeah, why not? In the chat a moment ago, I put the SongBike Sweetwater affiliate link. So if you take a look, you might have to scroll up just a little bit. If you're going to shop at Sweetwater, click on that link and use that link to help you shop. You guys know what I'm about to say. When you shop at Sweetwater via that link, when the purchase is done, Sweetwater sends a little teeny tiny bit back to support what we do here. And I thank you in advance. So yeah, I say go for it. For those of you like William, who may be getting your first electric guitar, maybe playing acoustic all this time, it's an adjustment. Electric guitars, they sit differently. They sit differently, against your body, on your leg. Typically, electric guitars are heavier than acoustic guitars, but they're also thinner. The body is thinner. So it's. I always describe it like driving your spouse's car. You know how to drive an automobile, but you drive your spouse's car, and you've got to maybe move the seat, adjust the mirrors, and maybe you drive stick shift and your spouse drives an automatic, and you got some adjusting to do. So be patient with yourself. And this goes for those of you who may be playing electric guitar constantly, and one day you get the urge, head over to Sweetwater, get an acoustic guitar, and now you've got this big honking thing against your ribs, and your arm kind of, is away from your body more. So there's definitely a period, a period where you're adjusting to the instrument. The instrument, sadly, is not going to adjust to you. You have to make your peace with it. I've mentioned before that a majority of my students, adult students specifically, who have one instrument, say acoustic guitar, they get the other instrument sooner or later. They get the electric guitar sooner or later, or vice versa, because it's so fun. And especially sitting, say, with a teacher or a friend, and you hear them playing the guitar you don't have, and you think, oh, I like that. And there's a common question I get is, do you learn different stuff, whether you're playing acoustic or electric? In the beginning, no. In the beginning, there's a whole bunch of stuff you're going to learn. The cowboy chords, right? A, C, D minor, all that stuff. Scales, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I would assume a experienced teacher is going to teach you no matter what instrument you show up with to your first lesson. But there are certainly things that sound great on electric guitar, sound great on acoustic guitar, and so on. And then certainly depending on your interests, that will also guide the stuff you pursue, which you guys know that already, right? If you're into singer-songwriter music, country music, you're more likely to be playing an acoustic guitar in the first place, right? So if I have, or when I have had a student who shows up to their lesson with their brand new guitar that's different than the one they had last week, right? It's an acoustic instead of electric. Then I definitely would jump on that and say, oh my God, you got your first electric guitar. Okay, let me show you some electric guitar things, or vice versa. So for electric guitar, maybe I might say, oh, well, you got your electric, let's do some power chords. Maybe they've been working on bar chords on the acoustic. They show up with their first electric guitar, and I'll say, oh, well, let's definitely do some bar chords on electric so you can feel how it's typically a lot easier on electric. Say they show up with their first acoustic guitar, and they've been playing electric all along, now they got an acoustic guitar. Or we might do some things where you're strumming big full chords, maybe some finger picking, something that really brings out the nature of the nice boomy warm acoustic sound that they've been missing all that time they've been playing electric guitar. Joseph, our first super chat of the evening. Joseph, thank you very much. Super chatting is when you make a donation to the cause right here, and you do that via that $sign at the bottom of the chat. And I thank you in advance. Helps keep the light on. You guys notice we have a different background today. You know, I turned around the whole system here so I could stretch. You know, usually when I'm doing something for you guys, I've got the guitar like this and the camera's right here, and I got no room. I end up having to play for you guys like this. And so I realized that we got a lot of, you know, excitement at the shopping center back there. You know, I got my little black backdrop, but it's the middle of the afternoon here in small town Connecticut, and the black backdrop was just kind of pointless. So we got a different look today. Joseph, a second super chat. All right, Joseph, you're in the lead, man. You're in the lead. You're in first place. All right. So don't forget, you guys, I'm here, number one, for your questions. And should you have a question, and I see Willie, I see your question. I'm going to get to that in a minute. If and when you have a question, I hope you have a lot of them, put a bunch of question marks in advance of your question so I know your question is directed at me. Willie asks, is fingerpicking easier or harder on nylon strings versus steel strings? Excellent question. It's tough. It's a tough question to answer because each guitar has pros and cons. So nylon string guitar, also known as classical guitar, here's the advantages. The strings are gentler on your fretting fingertips. They're softer. They don't make your fingers hurt. Not quite the same as steel strings. So that's nice. Another thing that's beautiful about classical guitar, nylon string guitar, because the fretboard and the neck are wider, your picking hand has more room to work. The strings are spaced out just a little bit more, so your picking hand has a little more real estate. You can reach in and find the strings a little bit better when you're doing fingerstyle guitar on a nylon string guitar. Also, the strings are very sensitive in a good way. You get beautiful sounds with a nice light touch when you play fingerstyle guitar on a nylon string guitar. Those same advantages can be disadvantages sometimes. The neck is wider on a nylon string guitar by definition. So that means your fretting hand may have to stretch a little bit more than you'd like. You know, yes, bar chords are harder in that sense on a nylon string guitar. The strings are super sensitive. That means if you have a heavy touch with your picking hand, you can really twang them and get essentially a type of distortion just from being too rough with your picking hand. So you really got to, you know, have a light touch, which we all should have anyways, right? But you got to have a light touch with your fingers when you do finger picking on a nylon string guitar. The advantages of a steel string guitar, finger picking on a steel string guitar, you know, slightly smaller neck, that nice clear metallic sound. I say metallic in a good way. You know, most of the finger picking you've heard in your life has been on a steel string guitar, so it's going to be a very familiar sound, unless you listen to a lot of classical guitar, which we all should be listening to a certain amount of classical guitar, right? Because it's beautiful, inspiring stuff. But in general, most of us, you know, listen to guitar music played on steel string instruments. So there's something very encouraging when you play Dust in the Wind or some famous tune, and the tone at least sounds exactly like the recording, Yeah. If you were shopping for a guitar, all other things being equal, I guess I would aim you towards a steel string guitar for finger picking. If you own a nylon string and that's your only guitar, oh yeah, that's great. Then stick with it. Don't worry about going out and buying a steel string guitar. I often get asked, can you swap the strings around? And no. Physically, is it physically possible? Yeah, you can find a way to do it, but it's not good for the guitar. It's either more or less tension than the guitar was designed for, and just it's not a good idea. Uh, and yeah, there's better solutions. If the guitar you own has the wrong kind of strings in your mind, I'd encourage you to do some shopping, some trading, some borrowing, and get a guitar that matches what you want, as opposed to just swapping the strings around. Speaking of which, I spent part of my day today restringing a customer's 12-string guitar, a very pretty Fender 12-string. And when he brought it in, I think he had got it from a friend or neighbor or something. It was a 12-string guitar with a total of 5 strings, and I think all 5 were nylon strings. And I know, it's a hot mess. So it's extremely satisfying restringing it with the proper strings and hearing what it sounds like. I thought about bringing it to the live stream today and letting you guys hear the 12-string, but I don't own the guitar. It would have been one more thing to carry around. I wouldn't do that with a customer's guitar. I've never done it before. So anyways, it was fun. I played a little 12-string, just enough to make sure it was in tune and make sure it sounded great. Oh, speaking of 12 strings, so I have a little thing in my mind called follow-ups, a little thing on my agenda called follow-ups. And I have a bunch of at least 2 follow-ups from last time. And one of the follow-ups, somebody asked a great question. They said, do I have any favorite 12-string guitar recordings? And I mentioned Life by the Drop by Stevie Ray Vaughan. And I'll stick with my answer. But there are people who committed, as a career guitar player, they committed themselves to playing 12-string guitar. And nothing wrong with someone grabbing a 12-string and recording a tune. That's very fun. I have a few examples to share with you of that type of playing. But I also want to give credit to the people who are known as 12-string guitar players. And so I'm going to share that with you. Is now a good time? Sure, why not? I'm going to share with you some links. And I will put this, almost everything along these lines. I put it in the description of the video when I timestamp the video. Okay, so for example, when I had time to think about it, let's start with good old Pete Seeger. Why not? Okay, here's a link. I'm going to put this in the chat. Pete Seeger definitely made a name for himself playing 12-string guitar. And here comes a link to Pete Seeger. Copy, okay. Bear with me, you guys. Paste. Okay, and send. Okay, there's a link to a YouTube video of Pete Seeger playing Living in the Country on 12-string guitar. So, hey, Chris, thank you for your super chat. Chris says, let's all of us support this guy from Connecticut. Hey, that's me. That's me. I appreciate that. You're too kind. I'm going to click on that. I got to remember to click on these little hearts when you guys make a donation. I love it. Okay, there we go. Thank you guys. Thank you, Chris and Joseph, and thank you to any of you guys in advance for if you choose to make a super chat donation. So there's a name and a song I wish I'd thought of last week when we were discussing 12-string players and 12-string songs living in the country. as performed by Pete Seeger. Okay, how about another one? I see mention of Lead Belly. Okay, here's a video. And I just can't believe these things exist. And I know YouTube has been around for a while now, right? But just the fact that you can go to YouTube and see a video of Lead Belly, I mean, that's like, royalty. It's like, seeing a video of George Washington or something. So I just put a link in the chat. Lead Belly performing Grey Goose on 12-string guitar. Okay. And you guys are too nice. The super chats are coming in. All right, you guys. I do appreciate that. I really do. Thank you, Randy, and thank you, Scott. Hey, speaking of regular members, you guys, I certainly recognize all your names, like Scott and Randy, and LR. Hey, LR, you know what I'm talking about. LR put Lead Belly's name in the chat too. Chaz will not be watching with us tonight. Chaz is traveling for 2 live streams. We measure time in live streams here. So Chaz reached out to me to let me know that he would not be watching for 2 live streams, but he sent all of you his best. All right. So Chaz, we're thinking of you. Safe travels. I have reason to think Chaz might watch these live streams after the fact, but you guys are welcome to. We're going to go for about 2 hours here, and that gives us about 90 more minutes, a little more than 90 minutes. And you guys might not be able to stay the whole time. I get that. If you have to leave, don't worry. This is all being recorded very soon after we wrap up, like very soon. The whole live stream is available as a video for you guys to watch. It'll probably be tomorrow before I get in and timestamp it. But you guys know it's all waiting for you. Okay, how about another 12-string maestro? How about Leo Kottke? I mentioned his name. Hold on here. My computer's giving me a hard time. I mentioned Leo Kottke's name last time, and now I want to share. Here we go. I want to share a video of him. Hold on, my friends. The Leo Kottke song that I chose is called Driving of the Year Nail. And here's a link to Leo Kottke performing this on 12-string. Come on now. I'm putting this in the chat too. Hey, Stephen Mannion is in the house representing Maine. Thank you, Stephen, for being here. I appreciate that. So there's yet another 12-string person. Okay, so I'll leave it at that for the moment. I got a couple more to share with you, but I'll leave it at that for the moment. Okay, so my friends, let me tell you what else we're going to be doing tonight in between your questions. Of course, we have a weekly poll question. We'll be getting to that in a moment. I have my own dumb question to ask. Every once in a while, I hear from you guys outside of the live stream, and some of you have expressed that you are concerned that if you ask a question in the live chat here, it might be a dumb question. So I'm going to throw out my own dumb question tonight just to make you realize there's no such thing as a dumb question. We have a chord family of the week. Ooh, this is a good one. It's not the chord names that are remarkable. Names are going to be like C, A minor, and so on. But it's what we're going to do with those chords, how we're going to play those. And our moderator, Beginner Guitar Lessons, this is an idea that he and I came up with during one of our lessons. And we thought, ooh, that would be a good thing for the live stream. So I have something called a pro tip. Pro tips, right? And I'm going to throw a pro tip your way. I want to follow up on a very provocative question from last week. Someone asked, what takes more skill, rhythm guitar or lead guitar? And some of you might remember my answer. And I'm sticking with my answer, but I wanted to talk about that a little bit more. Subscriber countdown. We are approaching 200,000 subscribers. And at last I heard we were at 199,880 in that ballpark, right around there, 199,880. So if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, now is a great time because I can't wait to get to 200,000. It's going to happen. It's just been a long time coming. So you guys can help me right now. I see we got 33 people watching. So if there's a few of you who have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, tonight's a great night to do it. We have a play along song of the week. Can't wait to show you that. There's a concept I want to share with you, or a thought I wanted to share with you, that has to do with seeing great guitar players and admiring what they're capable of, but you may not consider them a big influence on your playing. And even though you admire what they do, but it might not be your thing, you know? So anyways, I have a little thought about that I wanted to share with you. Scott Rhodes. Scott, you asked a question that I did not get to last week about the devil's note. So I want to talk a little bit about the devil's note, you know, the tritone. And of course, I have a quote to share with you from famous Danish physicist Niels Bohr. I know some of you are thinking, what now? Of course, we got to talk about Danish physicists on our show. So I saw a quote from Danish physicist Niels Bohr that I wanted to share with you. So we'll get to that during the live stream today too. And a book of the week, a book that I did not write, but that I've used a lot in my teaching. So I can't wait to share that with you as well. Okay, so I occasionally I worry that I might miss a question that you guys put in the chat. So don't let me miss any questions. If you did ask a question and a little time goes by and I don't get to it, do not take it personally. It just means that somehow Mr. Live Streamer here just missed your question. And don't forget, if you put a bunch of question marks in advance of the question, that makes it easier for me to see. Joseph, you asked, how long does it take to learn Dust in the Wind? It's a great question. Dust in the Wind, you get a lot of bang for your buck because let's face it, it's a beautiful guitar part that's very catchy and memorable. Right? And it just isn't that hard. So, but before I answer your question, I want to break it down into two. I want to answer it two ways. There's the basic riff that I just did based on a C chord with a repetitive right hand picking pattern. Then there's the entire song, right? So if I were teaching you as like an in-person student lesson, we'd start off just learning the picking pattern and the basic right hand thing I did just there. Essentially the intro of the tune. It works through a variety of C type chords and a variety of A minor type chords, while the picking keeps repeating over and over again, the exact same picking pattern. And then we'd have a conversation. Okay, now that you know the basic, how the song goes, maybe you practice it for a lesson or two, you get better at it. Then we say, okay, now do you want to pursue the whole song? Because that's, it's a long song with a bunch of different parts. And for some people, that's exactly what they want. Other people say, you know what, I got the basic idea of it, but for whatever reason, doesn't even matter the reason, but you might not want to pursue the entire song. And that's okay, but we have that conversation. Okay, so Joseph, back to your question. If we're going to learn, say, just the intro, that itself is a multi-step process. There's learning it, and then there's getting good at it, right? And that goes for almost anything that you do on the guitar, anything that's remotely challenging. You got to wrap your brain around it, look for the patterns, whether it's a right-hand finger-picking pattern, a chord pattern, both, process it, internalize it. And then that's when the fun begins. Then you got to do it, 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. You got to do it every day, right? And that's the second part of the process. So how long did it take me to learn it? I mean, by the time I had some finger picking experience before I ever sat down to learn Dust in the Wind. So I can't give you a specific answer to that question. I can tell you in general what my students, though, what happens with my students. You can learn the basic pattern in one lesson, right? I guess if you gave yourself a month, you certainly would understand the job in much less than a month. And when I say the job, I mean this. Your brain understands it very quickly, but doing it, basically every day for a month, keeping it slow and steady. I'm doing it now with little A minor variations. I would say give yourself a month, and maybe after a month, I would not be shocked if you could, do that with some decent practice. Okay, I mean, there's no substitute for that, and it's a funny phenomenon that you guys have faced, and I see it in my students every day. I taught 5 or 6 lessons today before the live stream, where clearly the student's brain 100% knows what to do, and it just takes a while for your fingers to get that flow going. So in terms of the basic introduction to Dust in the Wind, give yourself a month. It's all about getting that flow going. 2 months. I mean, as a teacher, I'm not in any rush, but I would look for whatever obstacles are in the way. I'll give you an example of the obstacle. Remember that thing I said about finger picking earlier, where the thumb is in charge of the 3 bass strings, and the index, middle, and ring get the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st strings respectively, right? Well, if I see a student that is playing Dust in the Wind, but they're not staying true to that picking hand orientation, we got to nip that in the bud, right? We got to, get that straightened out as quickly as possible, because you'll never get the flow you need to get if you're not orienting your fingers that way and assigning each finger to a specific string. And then in terms of the entire song, that's a tough one. I now that I think about it, I have a couple of students right now who are pursuing like the entire song note for note. And they've been working on it for a bunch of lessons. One fella I'm thinking of right now, he's doing a good job on it, and I think it's been a few months, less than a year for sure, but he's been working on it for a few months. It sounds what I would call respectable, meaning if you heard the guy play it, you'd know instantly it was Dust in the Wind. And if you're someone who has never tried playing Dust in the Wind, or maybe you've never done any finger picking, you'd say, I respect what that guy's doing. It's very respectable. It's, he knows what he's doing. Maybe you would say, okay, it's not quite as smooth as the recording, but you could see, the song is coming to life. And if you had never done Dust in the Wind before, I wouldn't be surprised if your reaction was, ooh, I wish I could do that, Okay. So I'm scrolling up. And those of you, definitely put some feedback in the chat if you've been working on Dust in the Wind yourself, or if you learned it at some point in your career. Put that in the chat and say, I know it's hard to remember sometimes how long, you spent on a tune, but feel free to chime in. I would like to hear that as well. Okay. Let's see. Charlie Beagle says Niels Bohr rocks. Yeah. I can't argue with that. Of course, we all know that Niels Bohr contributed to our understanding of the atomic structure, right? And quantum theory. You all knew that, of course, right? Sure you did. And I'll get to the quote from Niels Bohr that I found very helpful momentarily. Willie says, I have a Mitchell 12-string budget guitar. Should I have spent more money on a higher quality guitar? No, not at all. But I would give this answer to anybody with any 12-string guitar. 12-string guitars need to be played, and they need to be monitored, meaning keep your eye on it. And if the bridge of the 12-string guitar, right there, the nice brown bridge there, if it starts to lift away from the body of the guitar, even enough to get your fingernail or a piece of paper, in there, time to loosen the strings and bring it to your local guitar tech immediately. 12 strings are under, a lot of pressure. And, for most people who own 12 strings, it might not be your main guitar, so it sits a lot and you pick it up now and then. And it would just be a shame if you didn't play it for a few months and you went to play it and things are just out of whack. And so really, I would give that advice to anybody with any 12-string. So no, I think take care of your Mitchell guitar. And a buddy of mine in college had a Mitchell 6-string. That sounded great. So no, enjoy what you have. Take care of it. Bring it for a setup to your local guitar tech every now and then. Once a year would not be a crazy idea, especially if you're playing the guitar and something doesn't feel right about it. Bring it to your local guitar tech. Don't forget, new strings can solve a lot of issues. If something about your guitar doesn't feel right, doesn't sound right, it can't hurt to get some new strings on there as a starting point. It wouldn't be unusual for a simple set of new strings to solve some issues you might be having. So, Thomas, thank you for your super chat. I appreciate that. I'm throwing a heart your way right there. Stephen is asking, is Dust in the Wind a finger picking only song, or could you use a flat pick? Yeah, it's a finger picking tune. Could you find a way to do it with a pick? Yeah, you could imitate it with a pick. I've never thought of that before, but now you're planting a seed in my head. So I know you can't see my right hand too well. That's better, right? And I thought I rearranged the room so you guys could see me better. I don't know. What the heck? So I call this faux finger picking. Faux as in F-O-U-X, fake finger picking. I got the pick in my hand, but I'm dancing around a little bit on the strings. And what I'm doing is essentially down, up picking, but I'm going down and up, and I'm only hitting essentially one string at a time. I'm definitely not brushing lots of strings on my C chord. Sometimes I'm hitting 2 strings. So I'm faking it a little bit. I think I would convince a passerby that, yes, that's Dust in the Wind. I mean, they would recognize Dust in the Wind. But yeah, so you could do that. But as a teacher, I would say, no, man, learn the real song. I mean, learn it for finger picking. To get that satisfaction of playing some legit finger picking. Yeah, Fender Ace. I was doing alternate picking right there. Yeah. Okay. Let me scroll for a minute, you guys. Okay. Since we're talking about, how long does it take to get good at something, part of me wishes that I had, kept track, with an Excel spreadsheet for the past 30 years. How long did it take so-and-so to get good at such and such? Because I wish I could give you guys concrete answers, but there's so many variables. The one thing I've learned in 32 years is the people who do the best play the guitar every day. It's not just I see it in. I always say the people, my students who do the best, have nothing else in common except one thing: they play the guitar every day. I've got a young guy right now. I mean, he's 7. He's 7, I think, give or take, plus or minus, 10%. He can play the melody of the Harry Potter theme. Bum bum ba-dum bum 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 bum, right? He can play it. It sounds exactly like the song. Now he's only doing one note at a time. So I'm saying that he flows, he's got the right rhythm. He clearly loves that song. He loves Harry Potter. And the kid clearly just did it a million times at home. There are a handful of lessons where I had to, suggest that he stop playing it for a minute because it's time to move on to something else. But I mean, he plays it with it flows. It sounds like music, and so when I see students who have success, it's because they just do whatever they do, whatever song they're working on, they do it every day, and they could be 7, they could be 7D, 47, and they may have nothing else in common with each other, but yeah, you do it every day, and that's when you find out. That's when you get the answer. How long does it take you? If you play it once or twice a week, then science goes out the window, because who knows if you're doing it once or twice a week. But if someone is doing it like every day, then maybe we could have a chance of saying, wow, this person sounded great doing it after 4 days, after 4 weeks, whatever. I don't know. The variables are endless, as Steven says. Yeah, Max says everyone is different. I know that's and yet I do wish I could tell people, oh, here's how long it should take. It just wasn't something that I documented. Um, uh, I certainly have noticed the opposite, when someone says, yeah, I didn't have any time to practice this week. And they go to play the thing that sounds about like it did the week previous, because of course it's not going to sound any better if you didn't practice. So, that's true. I'm going to pause for the cause here. Canada Dry. When you must drink ginger ale and raspberry lemonade, choose Canada Dry, my friends. Okie doke. Sounds good to me. Broadcasting today from our Elm Street studio, where my friend Rich had a few beverages downstairs for me to choose from, whether he knew it or not. And I went with Canada Dry, ginger ale, raspberry lemonade. So thanks, Rich. I appreciate that. Okay, so Danish physicist Niels Bohr. Why is his name coming up in a guitar Q&A live stream? I'll tell you why. And it doesn't directly have to do with how he contributed to our understanding of atomic structure and quantum theory, although I love saying that. He got the Nobel Prize in 1922. I did a little homework. I admit I did a little homework on Niels Bohr. So what I've said to people for years, sincerely, is that I get to be a teacher because I've made more mistakes than you guys. Then make enough mistakes, and you get to sit in the big chair at the front of the room, as opposed to stand in the corner of the room in the back. So I was pleasantly surprised to hear Danish physicist Niels Bohr say regarding mistakes. He said, an expert is someone who's made all the mistakes which can be made in a narrow field, meaning, being an expert in that field, right? I'll say it again. Expert is someone who has made all the mistakes which can be made in a narrow field. And I thought, yeah, man. Yeah, I'm on my way. I'm sure I haven't made them all yet. I've made a bunch of mistakes, both as a performer, as someone, trying to master certain guitar skills. Oh yeah, I've made a bunch of mistakes. So when he said that, I thought, that's great. That also reminds me of, was it Thomas Edison? I think Thomas Edison, his laboratory had a fire, and burned to the ground. And as legend has it, Thomas Edison saw his laboratory, burning down, and he said, all my mistakes gone forever. I thought, yeah, man, I can relate to that. Robbie 24ish, hello. Who else is here that I haven't maybe said hello to? Danielle, hello. A to Z me, welcome back. I see we have 38 of you here tonight. Excellent. I appreciate that. Okay, we're getting closer to the 1 hour mark. At the 1 hour mark, that's typically when I like to do our guitar play along. So get your guitars handy for that. You do not need a capo. We will be using power chords. Oh, actually, if you have a capo, I'm going to give you an option of playing the song with capoed chords instead of power chords. So get your capo handy. Hey, now is a good time to give away free stuff. That's right. The SongBike Blues Guide. Every once in a while, I realize that I've gone 2 hours and not mentioned free stuff. Who doesn't want free stuff? Okay, the SongBike Blues Guide, available for free at www.song-bike.com. I love this little book, and it comes with a video too. Okay, so how can you get yourself a copy? Just go to that website. I'll put it in the chat. And it's short but sweet, and it's filled with helpful stuff. My friend said, I don't know if you should just give that away. And I said, you know what? It really is. It's just about a dozen pages, but there's a lot crammed into those dozen pages, especially when you combine it with the video. So yeah, it's free. It's like you go into a restaurant, and at the restaurant they give you a blues guide. There you go. It's like, oh, well, thank you. Or breadsticks or something like that. What I do in the blues guide, the free blues guide, is we've got a page where we introduce a blues scale, and then a follow-up page where you got some famous blues songs or blues riffs that use that scale. I think that's awesome, because we all got to practice our scales. We got to do it in any style of music, blues or otherwise. But it's nice to know your scale leads you to something, and there you go. So we got the key of E blues scale. That leads us to Smokestack Lightning from Howlin' Wolf, I'm Your Hoochie Coochie Man by Muddy Waters, and Boom Boom from John Lee Hooker. We got the G blues scale, and the G blues scale leads us to Mannish Boy by Muddy Waters and Little Red Rooster by Howlin' Wolf. We got the A blues scale, and the A blues scale leads us to the Crossroads riff from Eric Clapton. The F blues scale, that leads us to Green Onions from Booker T and the MGs. I think this is a cool idea. Hey, the G blues scale in closed position, and that leads us to the famous Freddie King song called I'm Tore Down. Some good basic blues shuffles right there, and some classic blues turnarounds. And there's my guitar. I had to throw in a picture of my guitar. 1963 Guild Starfire, heavily modified by the original owner. I got this guitar in 1985. And at some point I realized that I owned this guitar longer than the original owner did, which is very, sometimes when time passes and something happens that gives you a new perspective on how time passes. So the original owner obviously had it for 22 years, and now I've had it for 39 years. Oh my God, I still think of it as his guitar. How do I know it was a gentleman who owned this guitar? It's an educated guess, because the belt buckle wear, whoever had it before me, had a big old metal belt buckle, and the back of the guitar, the finish is all worn away. I digress. Okay, so when you go to song-bike.com to get your free blues guide, it will be emailed to you as a PDF. But don't let me stop you from going to your local printer, like Staples or something, and you can get it printed out. I got a little spiral. I use this, for my teaching, so I'll grab it right, off the desk, and I'll photocopy some pages and stuff for a student. So I like having a hard copy, spiral binding and stuff. Anyways, it's free. And there's a video on YouTube. I think if you hear my YouTube channel, if you just look for like blues guide video, search for that, you'll see it. Anyways, yeah, get yourself a little something. It's free, Okay, so how about, I'm going to start checking a few things off my list here. Ooh, we got to get to our poll question. How could I forget? Poll question, and I want to throw a few more 12-string players your way as well. Okay, poll question. I'm going to try to make this happen quickly. I intended to ask this poll question earlier so I could get more of you guys to answer the question, but hang in there. Okay, start a poll. Here's the question. The question, tonight's poll question. What would you ask your favorite guitar player? Would you ask your favorite guitar player about the riffs and the songs that you love so much? Sure you would. But would you ask them about the gear they use? Maybe. Kind of cool, you know? What kind of pick do you use, man? Would you ask them about their influences? You know, like what inspired them, you know? Okay. Now you can feel free to talk about this in the chat, but I'm going to start the poll in a second. Or there. Okay. Or would you ask them maybe more generally about their philosophy? Like, what's your philosophy, man? Where you coming? Where you coming from? What gets you out of bed? Philosophy. Okay, start the poll. There we go. Okay, so, and I know I should probably make an option of other, but let's start with that. So you bump into your favorite guitar player and like, wow, there they are, you know, and you get a chance to hang out with them. What are you going to ask them? I'm curious. Okay, so there's our poll question of the night. I see 39 of you are watching. I know not all of you are in the chat. I get that. But nevertheless, I'm curious about your answers. Okay. Before I forget, it is important to me to include a few more of these talented musicians who have been recorded playing 12-string guitar. The next one I'm putting in the chat is a gentleman who is not known for 12-string guitar, but I love the song so much. The one and only Rory Gallagher. We got any Rory Gallagher fans out there? Anybody from the UK watching right now? Rory Gallagher, known for his electric playing, especially on a Stratocaster, a very well-worn Stratocaster. And I was doing a deep dive into Rory Gallagher and his playing, and I came across an acoustic 12-string song, and I love the tune itself. And he does some nice playing on it, but I just love the tune. And I realized that Randy's a Rory Gallagher fan. Yep, LR. Okay, you guys know. Robbie 24. So there you go. I find it charming, for lack of a better word, when these high energy players, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Rory Gallagher, when they bust out a 12-string and chill out and do something on the lighter side. I love that. I love that so much. So Rory Gallagher has a song called Wheels Within Wheels. I put the YouTube link to that song in the chat. And he's playing a 12-string on the song. And how about second to last one. Do we have any fans out there of Spider John Koerner? Some of you are like, what? I can't believe I can't believe he's talking about Spider John Koerner. And some of you might be saying, yeah, you lost me, buddy. You lost me, Mr. Connecticut. Koerner, Ray, and Glover, anybody? Spider John Koerner? Spider John Koerner. I put a link to a video in the chat of Spider John Koerner performing Gamblin' Man. And LR, you like Dave Snake Ray, huh? Snaker Ray. There you go. Koerner, Ray, and Glover. I got turned on to them. I worked at a music shop outside Chicago for a decade, and I got turned on to the good stuff. Oh man, Charlie Beagle knows Koerner, Ray, and Glover. Okay, so you smart people. Spider John Koerner was a highly regarded young player, and but someone he hung out with got a lot more famous, even though anyone would agree Spider John Koerner was a much better guitar player. But who is the young guy hanging out? I'm not going to give any more clues. Who was a contemporary? They live in the same city, and he went on to be way more famous than Spatter John Koerner. But for a little while, they were both hanging out together. Who was that? He didn't play in a band with Spatter John, but if you were contemporaries, you would have easily thought, well, Spatter John is a very talented, awesome guy, and this other guy who went on to be super famous might not have made a big impression on you necessarily. Certainly not for his hotshot guitar playing, the way Spatter John was, as a young guy. I think he was already regarded as a really good guitar player. Anybody? I'll give you a clue. Spatter John was a young guy, college-age guy in Minneapolis. There you go. LR knows. That's right. That's right. And there, Charlie Beagle knows. Yeah. So if you were in Minneapolis around that time, you probably would have thought, man, Spatter John is so good, and that Bob Dylan guy is, you should keep practicing, maybe, So there you go. Anyway, Spatter John Koerner, Koerner, known for his 12-string playing. So I had to put him in the chat too. And Spatter John is one of those people that if I didn't work in a guitar store around, musicians, I'm sure I don't know if I ever would have heard his name. I hope I would have, but it just makes it really easy if people are always bringing in cassettes and CDs and just talking about stuff. And, especially, when you're the young guy in the music shop, and the old guys know all the good stuff. When I say old guys, I mean guys who are like 40, and they know all the good stuff. Okay, one more 12-string player or 12-string recording, and this goes back to what I talked about last week. Here's a link to Stevie Ray Vaughan doing that song on 12-string. Hold on here. What have I done? Where'd that go? This is not, here we go, copy. This is not a video of him performing it. This is just the song itself. There we go. Life by the Drop. So when one of you all brought that up last week and said, Jonathan, you have any favorite 12-string performances? Stevie Ray Vaughan's was the first one that just popped in my head. But I had to jump back. I had to do a little follow-up here on in this week's live stream, because there's some people who are really known as 12-string guitar players. And I want to make sure I gave them some credit too. So for those of you who want to, who maybe don't know so much about Koerner, Ray, and Glover, you definitely want to check them out. Dave Snaker Ray, as LR knows, and John Koerner, Spatter John Koerner, and Tony Little Son Glover. Such a great sound, man. 2 acoustic guitars and harmonica. Koerner, Ray, and Glover. Check it out. Good stuff. Okay, so I want to make sure we did a follow-up. I'm going to check that off the list. Okay, how about, we're at the 1 hour mark. How about if we get into our play-along song of the week? But stick around because I have more stuff on the agenda tonight. We haven't talked about my own dumb question of the week. We haven't talked about the chord family of the week. I have a pro tip I want to throw your way. We haven't talked about what takes more skill, rhythm or lead guitar. I haven't showed you the book of the week. We haven't addressed Scott's question about the devil's note. So a lot of reasons to stick around. Okay. So what I want to do here is talk with you guys about our play-along, sing-along song of the week. You ready? All Along the Watchtower. Look at that. All on the Watchtower. We're going to do the Jimi Hendrix version, but I'll show you how you could adapt the Bob Dylan chord structure and play along with the Jimi Hendrix version. Okay. So I always try to keep this short because I want to get right to actually playing the tune. Okay. The reason I chose this tune, the reason why this song made the cut, so to speak. There we go. The reason I chose this song is because the chord structure is simple and repetitive. And clearly what we're about to do is best described as a campfire version, right? We're breaking the song down to its bare bones, but it's enough to get the point across. And for those of you with not much power chord experience, you're about to get some. For those of you with plenty of power chord experience, I hope you already knew this song, but if you didn't, you can add this to your repertoire. Okay, so this is the preparation, and in just a minute or two, we'll get to actually playing the song. Okay, so you need a total of 3 power chords. What's a power chord? In this case, your 2 bass strings, your 2 fat strings, index finger 6 on the 6th string, ring finger or pinky on 8 on the 5th string, 6 and 8. I'm going to really encourage you to use your ring finger. If you're trying to get your ring finger up there and it doesn't feel like you can stretch up there, double check your thumb. Your thumb should be pointing up towards the ceiling. Your thumb should not be parallel to the neck. It should be pointing up towards the ceiling. At the moment, my thumb is almost like in between my index and ring. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to call this power chord. I'm going to nickname it 6, since that's where my index finger is, 6 on the 6th string. Technically, it's a note B flat, but for our purposes, I'm going to refer to this as 6, because after 2 strums on 6, remember that's the nickname for this, right? After 2 strums, I'm going to glide up 2 frets. So now my index is on 8 and my ring finger is on 10 on its string. I'm going to do that one 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. So far we have 2 power chords based at 6 and 4 power chords based at 8. You're halfway there. That's half the song. I'm going to return back to where I started. Index finger on 6, ring finger on 8. 2 of those. Backwards 2 frets. Index finger is on 4, ring finger on 6, and 4 of those. So as I illustrate this, I'm going to call everything by the name of the fret, the number of the fret where my index finger is touching. So I'm going to describe it this way: 6, 6, 8, 8, 8, 8, 6, 6, 4, 4, 4, 4. Okay, that's the whole tune in terms of the skeleton of the tune, right? The guts of the tune, whatever anatomical metaphor you want to use. Some of you know, and some of you don't, that you could always add on your pinky. My pinky is on the 4th string, but the same fret that my ring finger's on. So if my index is on 6 on the 6th string and my ring finger's on 8 on the 5th string, my pinky's on 8 on the 4th string. And that note, the reason why that finger is optional, that note is optional, but you're welcome to put it in there to thicken out the sound a little bit. My pinky is on a note exactly 1 octave higher than the note my pointer finger is touching. My pointer finger is on B flat, like I mentioned, 6 on the 6th string. My pinky is on B flat 1 octave higher. Okay, that's my 6th string and 4th string. So it's optional. You know, if you want to put it in, great. You might see me start to add it in. Like I said, it thickens out the sound because now I can include that 4th string. Okay, now I don't know how well you guys can see this tab, because I know that some of you are watching this after the fact, and any of you are welcome to watch it after the fact. If I hold it up closer to the camera and let you guys like sort of freeze the camera on this, or freeze the video on this, so to speak. There's your 6, 6, 8, 8, 8, 8, 6, 6, 4, 4, 4, 4. You get a good shot of that. I'll hold it up. You can freeze on it. Okay. If you wanted to play it more like Bob Dylan does, capo on the 1st fret. there's capo on the 1st fret, and essentially it goes 2 G's, 4 A minors. There we go. 2 G's and 4 A minors. 2 G's and 4 F's. G, G, A minor, A minor, A minor, A minor, G, G, F, 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 F. But you'd have to put the capo on the 1st fret to be in the same key as Jimi Hendrix. Okay. If you want to play along with Bob Dylan's version, I think the capo is on either 3 or 4. 4. I'm pretty sure it's 4. Notice for the G chord, I just illustrated with the 3 open strings, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th open strings, because that's way more convenient than committing to a whole G chord, and it gets the point across. So yes, you are allowed to strum just those 3 strings as open strings and not commit to fingering an entire G chord. Makes your life a lot easier. And you'll notice I did the same thing sort of with the F. There we go, right there. I had to do F with a fragment of an F chord. We're only going to fret the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. 2nd string, 1st fret, 3rd string, 2nd fret, 4th string, 3rd fret. 1, 2, 3. See that right in the line like that? So anybody can play that version of F. If you're struggling with any other version of F, happy days. You can do this version, okay? All right. So I'm going to keep that up, but it may help you guys, before we start, to notate the sequence of power chords. To take your pen or pencil and write 6, 6, 8, 8, 8, 8, 6, 6, 4, 4, 4, 4. Since that's what you really want to keep track of, where your index finger is on the 6th string, Okay, we're going to start in T minus 30 seconds. Got your power chord ready. If you choose capo the 1st fret, you got the A minor. Well, you got the G. I don't have a capo with me today, but G, G, A minor 4 times, G, G, F 4 times. Just make sure you put the capo on the 1st fret. If you do not put a capo on the 1st fret and you play those A minors, Fs, and Gs, it won't sound good with the power chords I'm going to do, okay? So if you don't have a capo, get yourself a capo. Use that Sweetwater affiliate link and get yourself a capo. Okay. I'm going to run through the power chords 1 or 2 times before the vocals come in, and in between the verses. There's 3 verses of this tune, but it's never a bad idea to vamp a little bit on the chord sequence in between verses, just like Jimi Hendrix or Bob Dylan or anybody would do. On the count of 3, it'll be like 1, 2, 3. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Okay, nice and slow. Ready? I'll see you on the other side. 1, 2, 3. There must be some way out of here, said the joker to the thief. There's just too much confusion here. I can't get no relief. Businessman, they drink my wine. Plowman, dig my earth. None of them along the line know what any of it is worth. No reason to get excited. The thief, it kindly spoke. There are many here among us who feel that life is but a joke. But you and I, we've been through that, and this can't be our fate. But let us not talk falsely now, while the hour's getting late. All along the watchtower, the princes kept the review, while other women came and went. barefoot servants too. Meanwhile in the distance, a wildcat did growl. Two riders were approaching, and the wind began to howl. And I know someone's thinking, hey, if I want a solo on top of that, what do I do? I got you, okay? B flat minor pentatonic. I would suggest 6 9 6 8 6 8 6 8 6 9 6 9. I will put that in the time stamping, but it's the pentatonic pattern I nicknamed the headquarters pattern. Sixth string 6 9. Definitely use your pinky on that 9, right? Give your pinky a reason to live. Fifth string 6 8. Fourth string 6 8. Third string 6 8. Second string 6 9. First string 6 9. Okay, knock yourself out. Jam away in the key of B flat minor. Okay, so power chords, right? Power chords. I feel like weeks ago, maybe months ago, we talked about Along The Watchtower, but we didn't actually do the song. So there you go. All right. So check that off the list. Oh, I'm going to jump in the chat here because that is why I'm here. Deborah, you like my singing? But between Bob Dylan and Jimi Hendrix, this song is a very forgiving song. So we don't cover too much Andrea Bocelli here in at the SongBike Guitar Q&A live stream. Joseph is pointing out that Eve of Destruction, as performed by Barry Maguire, was done on a 12-string. I did not know that. Thunder Ace says that Along The Watchtower was one of the first tunes you learned. Excellent. Did you learn it at power chords? Maybe. I hope so. But I can see a teacher teaching it with that A minor GF business as well. Danielle is mentioning a great 12-string player from Cape Breton Island, Nova Scotia, named John Allen Cameron. Very cool. Okay. Willie, we give you the credit for asking about 12-string guitar performances last week. Thank you for asking that. Okay. Max, you're having a hard time downloading the blues book? Nah, it shouldn't be hard. Presumably you got an email right away with the link, the PDF. You should. No one else is having any problems, Max. You can do it. You'll figure it out. But truly, if it makes you crazy, send me an email and we'll work it out. How can you guys get in touch? Okay, in the chat, info@song-bike.com. That's how you can email me anytime. Oh, hey, before I forget, I haven't made any huge progress, but I want to keep you guys in the loop about put this like this. I want to keep you guys in the loop about the chord melody book that I'm working on, because I'm motivated to finish it sooner rather than later. Chord melody arrangements of a bunch of good songs. I'll read through this list real quick because I know I shared this with you last time. Wait a minute, not that list. Chord melody arrangements. These are some of the songs in the book. I'm very excited about this book. Okay, some of the songs in the book include, again, this is my arrangements of playing these songs as beautiful chord melody instrumentals. After the Gold Rush by Neil Young, Alice's Restaurant by Arlo Guthrie, Old Lang Syne, Autumn Leaves, Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain, Can't Help Falling in Love, Cockles and Mussels, Fields of Gold by Sting, Georgia on My Mind, I Hope That I Don't Fall in Love with You by Tom Waits, Let It Be by the Beatles, Make You Feel My Love by Bob Dylan, Minuet in G, Moon River, Morning Has Broken by Cat Stevens, Norwegian Wood by the Beatles, All 55 by Tom Waits, Send in the Clowns, Shenandoah, Summertime, The Tennessee Waltz, Turn the Page by Bob Seger, Water is Wide, What a Wonderful World, as sung by Louis Armstrong, When Irish Eyes Are Smiling, Wild Mountain Time, Yesterday by the Beatles, and You've Got a Friend by Carole King. Those are some of the songs that are going to be in the book. I will keep you guys posted when that book is available for download. I'm very excited. One of my absolute favorite things to do as a teacher and just as a musician is to take a beautiful song and find a way to perform it as a guitar instrumental that is both easy and satisfying. Musical, but with a type of a simple clarity to it. Okay, hey, let's check in on our poll question. Let me see here. Okay, the question was, what would you ask your favorite guitar player? Ooh, look at this. Ooh, what a cool breakdown. Okay, based on the choices I gave you, it's almost even. 1/4 of you would ask your favorite guitar player about riffs and songs that guitar player is known for. 1/4 of you would ask about their gear. 1/4 would ask about their influences. And 30% would ask about their overall philosophy. How cool. Look at you guys breaking yourselves down. We got 30 votes in. Hey, our show is going to go for about another 40 minutes, give or take. So if you have not voted in the poll, it's not too late. If you're in your car, if you're somewhere and you can't get to where you can vote, you got time to pull over or get to where you need to go and add to the poll. Go for it. Okay. So, I want to share with you something kind of cool that I heard just today. Many of you would like to sing and play at the same time if you don't already. And absolutely, it's one of the most common questions I get. How do you play and sing at the same time? And I was watching an interview with Stuart Copeland, the drummer from the Police. And he said that Sting, the singer with the Police, could not sing and play the bass lines that he wanted to play at the same time in the recording studio. So he would do one and then the other because the bass lines were just too hard. The bass lines were, what he wanted to do on the bass, what he did do on the bass was too hard, at least at first, for him to sing on top of. So he would record the bass line, get it just the way he wanted, and then separately sing along. And presumably when they did it live, he either had mastered it or he had worked it out in some way. But isn't that cool to know? So yeah, just more proof of what you already know or confirming what you already know. Singing and playing is not easy. And there's good old famous Sting from the Police, who found a workaround, which is great in the recording studio. But certainly by the time he did it live, he would have had to either master it or figure something out. Robbie, 24ish, you like Autumn Leaves? That Autumn Leaves made the cut. Let me tell you, I'm glad you brought it up because of all the songs that I just read on that list, I may be most proud of my version of Autumn Leaves because it's a jazz tune and my version of it does not have jazzy chords. It has easy chords like A minor and stuff. And I think it still sounds great. And so I'm very proud of that version. So Audiophile Man, welcome. Audiophile Man says, some good chord melody songs there, Jonathan. Thank you. Some of them came from your requests. I believe your requests included I Hope That I Don't Fall in Love With You by Tom Waits, Shenandoah, Tennessee Waltz, Turn the Page, Water is Wide, Beatles in general. I got a lot of requests for Beatles songs in general, to the point where I think I will do a Beatles only book. Maybe a couple dozen Beatles chord melody arrangements. Walter, welcome to the live stream. Glad you could make it. Ian is bringing up a good point, and I hear this a lot. Ian says, I'm 71, picked up the acoustic guitar at the start of January. I think this is an age thing. I can't do clean chord changes no matter how often I practice. Could I perhaps just be too old? It's a fair question. The guitar is challenging no matter what, and as you age, the guitar doesn't magically get easier. So yes, you have a challenge in front of you, but I think many of you, if not 100% of you in the chat, would agree it's too early for Ian to be too tough on himself, since you said you just started in January. And now give yourself a year. I'm not saying you're going to sound, your chords will not sound good until the end of 12 calendar months, you know, but it's too soon for you to get too discouraged. So that this is just, I'm giving you a reality check. You know, this is how everyone feels at first. Like, wow, I've been doing it for 2 months. I've been doing it for 3 months. How come this stuff isn't happening? So by way of encouragement, I'm going to say a few things. Your success at changing between chords really depends on the exact chords. I'll give you an example. E minor to A. E minor to A, I would consider to be a relatively easy chord change. And I bet that if you focus on E minor to A, for example, you'll have more success quicker. And songs that use that particular chord change include My Sweet Lord by George Harrison, Breathe by Pink Floyd. And I was just doing one today. I thought, oh, there's another E minor to A. Oh, Down by the River, Neil Young. The first, parts. Be on my side, I'll be on your side. I mean, essentially, it's based on E minor going to A. E minor 7 if you want to get really technical. Okay, so Ian, that's one thing I want to say. You got to pick and choose the chords carefully so you don't get too discouraged. Because if you're doing too tricky chords that are more challenging, then you won't be fair to yourself. Another thing to think about, and this is really significant, there's more to guitar than just chords. So an example, and I know chords are at the heart of a lot of what we all want to do. I get that, believe me. But if I were to put on my music therapist hat for a minute, I'm not a music therapist. Well, I don't, I'm certainly not licensed or certified, and I've never studied music therapy. I feel like a music therapist a lot. So if I put on my music therapist hat and said, hey, guitar is good for you, we all should play musical instruments, it's good therapy, I'd say, hey, instead of worrying about chords all the time, learn some stuff that's not chords. That's why, bear with me, you guys, in my books that I wrote for beginners, such as the Guitar Month 1. I also have the Guitar Week 1, the Guitar Year 1. In the back of Guitar Month 1 and Guitar Week 1, it's full of single note melodies. There you go. Shenandoah. Shenandoah, just one note at a time, one string at a time. In the back of each of these books, there are about 24. There's folk tunes, Happy Birthday, some few patriotic tunes, Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Play the melody, get the blood flowing, get the satisfaction of playing something that everyone's heard. Okay, that's success, and it feels good. Nothing wrong with playing a simple melody on the guitar. You can still keep working on chords, but let's get you some wins. Let's get you some W's in the wins column. Play some melodies, get that satisfaction. How about a blues shuffle? For the record, for those of you who cannot see what I'm doing at the moment, I'm using my index finger back and forth on the A string, the 5th string. It's moving from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret. My pick is plucking the 2 bass strings. I'm only touching the 5th string, but I'm including the open 6th string. All right, a nice E shuffle, nicknamed after the open E string. Right, I'm doing it with one finger, but it's valuable. You can do a lot with the E shuffle. One finger, ladies and gentlemen. Right, if you have one working finger, helps to have a thumb back there as well. you're up and running with the E shuffle. Drop your index finger down. So I'm touching the 4th string, D string, 2nd fret. There's one finger doing the A shuffle. Drop it down again. Don't worry, I'll put this in the timestamp. I mean, even if you were, decades younger with amazing fingers, I'd still be showing you these shuffle patterns because they're so important and valuable and fun, right? So what I'm presenting here is alternatives to chords that are valuable, fun, therapeutic, if you will, and they're pathways to success. So I know chords are frustrating. I know, I get it. I hear it all the time. Change, like, first of all, just getting a chord to sound good, and then changing between 2 chords. Yeah. So as you, instead of banging your head against that challenge with nothing else going on, do some other stuff as well. Lots of other things, scales, lots of other things. In fact, I would go as far as to say I have a whole agenda in my mind of many, many, many things that don't relate to typical chords, A minor, C, G, F, all that kind of stuff. Things that are valuable, important, popular, fun, easy, interesting. So don't beat yourself up if your chords aren't going too well. Okay, you get my gist. Okay, my friends, we got plenty of time here, but I want to do a little bit of scrolling because Audiophile Man is giving us some good advice. Audiophile Man says, chord changes are more smooth if you're thinking about the next chord you're going to play before you get to it. Yeah, good point. P. Callie says, Ian, I'm 60 and it takes a while. Don't give up. I have no feeling in my strumming hand. Well, limited. And I found a way. Wow. Very interesting. Very interesting. Charlie Beagle says, hang in there, man. Yep. Thunder Ace says, Ian, you can do it. Just need more time and SongBike videos. I like that. Yeah. It takes a lot of patience, but you know what? All this stuff takes patience. William Collier says, I'm 75, been at it for about a year and a half. I would say it's coming slowly, but it's coming. Yeah. Good attitude. That's the good attitude. Okay. Okay, you guys are I encourage everybody to read everything in the chat because there's lots of good advice and supportive, helpful things that you all are saying to each other, and that's a beautiful thing, So you guys, if now is as good a time as any to remind you, if you asked a question that I did not get to yet, I might have just missed it. So don't hesitate. Put it in the chat again with some question marks in advance so I know it's for me. Okay. Going back to the agenda. Ooh. Let's talk about our chord family of the week. Hey, we have a moderator with us. Our moderator named Music Fan. Music Fan, thank you for being a moderator. Music Fan, can we get a pizza tonight? Music Fan 1004. Oh, okay. Music Fan, I think I worked this out. Let's have a round of applause for our moderator, Music Fan 1004. Here it comes. We have wild applause. There you go. So, Music Fan, can we have pizza tonight? I'm in a pizza mood. Music Fan, if you super chat me the money for the pizza, yeah, welcome to my family. Music Fan, that'd be hilarious, right? Music Fan sends a super chat, and I use the super chat money to get us the pizza. I'm just kidding. But Music Fan, you know what I'm getting at. I wrap up these live streams, and I am ready. I'm ready for pizza. I had a peanut butter sandwich a few hours ago, and it was great. But my metabolism, just kind of shrugged it off. I said, peanut butter sandwich, that's nothing. I'm fortunate that there is a German bakery in the neighborhood of my music shop. And so I'm spoiled by a lot of tasty choices. And so today I had a Berliner at the German bakery, and I was reminded of that. Who said Ich bin ein Berliner, not knowing that what a Berliner was? Someone put that in the chat. Another reference, along with Danish physicist Niels Bohr, that maybe you didn't expect on the SongBike guitar Q&A live stream today. Who said Ich bin ein Berliner? And didn't quite understand 100% what he was saying. Who is famous for that quote? Well, the Berliner that I had today, Scott Rhodes knows, the Berliner that I had today was delicious. I think it was my first Berliner. And Scott Rhodes remembers, and Robert remembers, that John F. Kennedy, in solidarity, if I understand my history correctly, John F. Kennedy wanted to identify himself with the population of Berlin. But what he said was, I'm a donut. Oh, Charlie Beagle, so close. The correct answer was John F. Kennedy, but Charlie Beagle, I can understand why you went with Yogi Berra. There you go. Yep. But the prize will go to Scott and Robert for knowing that John F. Kennedy said it. Yogi Berra, close but no cigar. There we go. Audiophile Man is noticing that we have a different look today, and with all the automobiles that you might see in the background, Audiophile Man is remembering the song by The Doors, "The Cars Hiss By My Window." Yeah, that rings a bell. I was just trying to different. It's not that I want things to look different. I just want to not be squeezed against the wall today, and I have all this space, and it allows me to show off my guitar T-shirt of the week, the Ithaca Guitar Works, Ithaca, New York. Had a good visit to Ithaca in general, and the Ithaca Guitar Works in particular, a few months ago. I definitely recommend checking them out. The Ithaca Guitar Works, where you can sometimes find the Ithacaster custom guitar. And I tried out an Ithacaster guitar when I was there. It was very cool. Had a cool pinstripe pickguard. That's one of my, aside from the fact that it felt so great in my hands, I thought the pinstripe pickguard was very cool. So yeah, so anyways, a different look today because I turned the whole system around sideways, and now I have all this room behind me. It just feels great. So I don't know, just an experiment, Okay, so let us get to the chord family of the week. Okay. And again, I'm going to hold this up to the camera so those of you who are able to do a little freeze on this in the future, there you go. Take a good look at that. You can freeze the camera right there. Okay. Key of C chords in 5th position. You can freeze your video there. Okay. All right. So let's talk about what's going on here. I was doing a guitar lesson with our other moderator, known as Beginner Guitar Lessons, and this concept came up, and we agreed, hey, that would be a cool thing to do with you guys as part of the live stream here. Okay, so long story short, a whole family of chords right in the exact same position with small but important changes with your fretting hand. Okay, so I chose this family of chords, C, A minor, D minor, and G7 and F, because they're such common chords. And it's fun to know different ways to play them. A scenario I always like to present is you're playing along with a song someone has written. Your friend has written a song, maybe on piano, with this family of chords, and you want to contribute. But for a variety of reasons, you might choose not to do the old-fashioned C and A minor. Say your friend has written a song, or you've written a song with C, A minor, D minor, and so on. And either you want to do something different than your friend, you want to voice the chords up the neck, or you've already recorded yourself with your recordings, software, your GarageBand or whatever, and you want to overdub some extra guitar. Yeah, well, you've already played C, A minor, D down here in the open position or first position, however you want to put it. Now you can overdub a second guitar part higher up the neck. It's not only does it sound great, it's extremely common for guitar players to do this kind of thing in the recording studio. Okay, so you're looking at your copy. I got my copy right here. Bear with me. Come on. Okay. So, in general, your hand is going to be up there at the 5th fret. Anytime your index finger is hovering or being used at the 5th fret, that's known as 5th position, right? Wherever your index finger generally is located, there's a position named after that. In this case, it's 5th position, right? You know, and by definition, if you're in 5th position, in general, your index is going to play any 5s that you see in the tab. Middle finger plays any 6s. Ring plays any 7s. Pinky plays any 8s, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then any exceptions, we'll deal with that in a minute. Okay, so C, 5, 5, 5 on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. Quick reminder, littlest string, littlest number, right? The first string is the skinny string. I do not make these rules. This is how it is, okay? Do not call the skinny string the 6th string. Biggest string, biggest number. 6th string is the fat one, okay? So when I say first string, you know I'm talking about the skinny string. And 6th string is the fat string. Okay, so C with one finger. It's definitely important to do this C with one finger. Think of it as a one finger A major chord, except instead of being at the 2nd fret, you're up at the 5th fret. There's our C. And we're in the key of C, so that's our one chord, okay? There's the key of C. Now, an extremely common partner to C is the A minor chord. Now, see this A minor in the diagram right there? A little bar, the 3 treble strings at 5, and then ring finger or pinky, 4th string 7. Now, don't worry if you can't do all that. If the ring finger can't arch over to the 4th string, 7th fret without touching some of the treble strings. In this week's lesson here, you're allowed to play 3 of the 4 notes instead of all 4 in this case, okay? So I don't know about you, but if I could narrow it down to only 3 notes, I would choose the 3 skinny string notes at the 5th fret, right? And which, if you think about it, is so similar to what you just did on C. C is a little bar, a partial bar at the 5th fret, focusing on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. And this A minor retains that bar at the 5th fret, just the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd strings. So there's your C, and here's your A minor. Okay, but don't let me stop you or discourage you from practicing, you know, reaching over with your ring or your pinky, 4th string, 7th fret, so you can include that note. By the way, that note is the note A, so it's nice to have that relatively low A sound as part of the chord. Okay, so check it out. Keep your index finger there at the 5th fret. A common chord in this sequence after C, after A minor, is D minor. Well, D minor, check it out. Notice that we're still in 5th position. We haven't gone anywhere, right? Our hand is still right where it's been, 5th position. D minor, 1st string, 5th fret, index finger. 2nd string, 6th fret, middle finger. Now watch out, this is important. Pinky next, pinky 3rd string 7, ring finger 4th string 7. Okay, don't reverse those. Pinky is on the skinnier of the 2 strings. Pinky 3rd string 7, ring finger 4th string 7. Now some of you may be aware that what I'm doing here is a D minor bar chord, but without the whole bar business. Instead of extending my index finger across all 6 strings, I'm just touching the 1st string, you know? So I would call this a fragment of a bar chord. I mean, if you wanted to explain how this relates to a bar chord, it's a fragment. It's 4 of the 6 notes. It's also a lot easier, you know? You don't have to play bar chords. Just play that, you know? Okay, so far we have C, A minor, D minor, and then G7. Okay, now for G7, we have to move a little bit. 7, 6, 7, G7. I'm putting my ring finger 7 on the 1st string, ring finger. Index 6 on the 2nd string, Lastly, middle finger, 7 on the 3rd string. 7, 6, 7. That sounds a little funky, right? Yeah, this particular G7 chord has no root note. It has no G in it. We're playing 3 other notes, but none of these notes are actually named G. You can do that. You don't have to play the root note. The listener figures it out. The listener, you put it this way, you've heard people do this your whole life, and it never gave you any reason to think, whoa, what's that guitar player doing? Okay, a nice 3-finger G7 chord. It relates back to D7 way back here, right? D7. Okay, but we're doing it up at 7, 6, 7, and it's a G7 chord. So admittedly, at the moment, we're not officially in 5th position, right? Because my index is on 6 on the 2nd string on the B string. But hey, it's really close, right? It's really close. Close enough for rock and roll. Okay, so I just walked you through what could be described as a 1-6-2-5 chord progression. If we gave each one of these chords their numeric nicknames, in the key of C, C is the first note of a C scale, call it the 1 chord. Remember, everything always relates back to whatever major scale is relevant. If we're in the key of C, and we are, the C major scale is our point of reference, okay? So you guys know this. With the C major scale as our point of reference, the C chord gets nicknamed the 1 chord. A minor gets nicknamed the 6th chord. Why? Because the note A is the 6th note of a C major scale. So we nicknamed this the 6th chord. So far we have a 1-6 chord progression. C to A minor. The D minor, D, the note D is the 2nd note of a C major scale, therefore D minor is known as the 2 chord. And lastly, we have the 5 chord. The 5 chord is a G7. I know it's a lot of numbers, right? Every once in a while I like to take a breath and say, and just point out the numbers that we're juggling. We're playing the 5 chord. It's a G7, the 5 chord, because G is the 5th note of a C scale, therefore we nickname this the 5 chord. But we're playing G7, so it's really like a 7th chord. We're playing the 5 chord as a 7th. Confused yet? To make it worse, we're playing it at 7, 6, 7. All these numbers mean different things. It's all right. It's all right. Take deep breaths, deep breaths. But yeah, all different numbers. So yeah, it's a 5 chord. Happens to be a dominant 7 flavor. Think of the 7th as a flavor, dominant 7 flavor. Usually we don't say the word dominant, but you're welcome to. Sounds a little sophisticated to say the dominant 7. And it happens to be located at the 6th and 7th frets. Yeah, a lot of numbers. Okay, so that's the first line up there, right? Second line starts off the same, C major, A minor. But check this out. Especially if you're being brave and you're doing that A minor with your ring finger on the 7th fret of the D string. Check out the next chord in this particular sequence, C, A minor, F. It's the 4 chord. You've almost got it already. You take that A minor, you add 1 finger. You don't change anything, you just add a finger. Middle finger, 2nd string, 6th fret. And you just changed what was A minor to F. It's subtle. Can you hear the change? It's this note changing to this note. A minor, F. Okay? And then just to shake things up, we're at the 5 chord. G7, of course, because G7 is the 5 chord. We could do a regular G, but I'm having you guys do G7. G7, again, with no root note, no G note, because we don't have to. That's what you got a bass player for. I love this chord. I love it. It sounds strange to hear myself say that, but I do. I love this chord. A 7th chord or dominant 7th chord played with a very familiar grip. Listen to that sound. So cool. Okay, why do I say this grip is familiar? Because it's shaped like a D major chord. Okay, so I'm going to actually go back to a D major chord just as a reference point here. Okay, here's my D major chord, right? Middle finger, first string, second fret, ring finger, second string, third fret, index finger, third string, second fret. There it is. There's my D major chord. Now watch what I'm going to do. And this is going to get me to the G7 in a second. Every one of my fingers is going to move to its neighboring fatter string. So now I have middle finger, second string, second fret, ring finger, third string, third fret, index finger, fourth string, second fret. But the same shape. I call this a triangular kind of shape. I'm going to take that shape now. I'm going to glide it up one fret higher, and that's a G7 chord. For the record, my middle finger, second string, third fret, ring finger, third string, fourth fret, index finger, fourth string, third fret, and that's a G7 chord. And in case you're curious, that grip, as long as you only pluck the three strings you're touching, that gives you a seventh chord anywhere you go up and down the neck, right? In fact, everything we've done today, there are no open strings involved. So everything we've done can be moved up and down the neck. So you can play other chords and other keys. It's a beautiful, beautiful investment of your time. But we're sticking with G7. Remember the title of this whole thing? Key of C chords in fifth position. Are we in fifth position at the moment? No. Okay, we made a little detour out of fifth position, but it's for a good cause. So there's your G7 chord. There's your 5 chord in a different way than we did it at the top of the page. Hey, options. I want to tell you guys that one sign that you're making progress on the guitar is that you can play the same chord different ways up and down the neck. You should be very proud of yourself. The motorcycles are out. Springtime in New England. Okay, give yourself a pat in the back. If you not only with this G7, maybe there's other chords that you already know multiple ways of playing that chord. That is progress. And I wish you many, many, many more successes, learning options. There's things you can't escape, right? You can't escape C chords. You can't escape A minor chords. You're going to play them forever. But you can find more and more ways of either literally playing the chords or things you can substitute for playing the chord. Some sort of riff, some other thing. Instead of doing an E chord, doing E shuffle pattern, something like that. So it's a loud motorcycle, huh? So yeah, okay. So key of C chords in fifth position. This is the tip of the iceberg because obviously we're only in one key. There's 12 keys in music. This is just the key of C. But someone who really understands this stuff, someone who's processed it, digested it, you've got it, you get what's going on here. It's then you're set for life because then it's just a matter of moving this to other places to be in other keys, you know. And I chose these chords carefully. The 1, 6, 2, 5, and 4. The 1 chord, the 6 chord, the 2 chord, the 5 chord, and the 4 chord, because those are the chords that make up so many of our chord sequences of our favorite songs, especially pop songs. When I say pop, I always feel the need to clarify. I use the word pop, meaning music intended for mainstream appeal. It could be folk, bluegrass, rock and roll, blues, country, but it's not jazz, you know. So if you stay away from jazz harmonies, jazz chord progressions, we're talking about these very common chord sequences, 1, 6, 2, 5, 4, and so on. Yeah. Okay. Oh my gosh, where did this time go, you guys? I'm gonna wet my whistle. Okay. I better scroll. Blair says, no bass player, go ahead and bar it. Pick up the bass on that. Yeah, I mean, Blair, you're onto something. There's always ways of including, you know, of playing the complete chord, of grabbing a bass note. Yep. But for clarity's sake, I wanted to keep this, you know, as clear as possible. Okay, let's check in with our poll real quick. Our poll question: what would you ask your favorite guitar player? Ooh, things are you guys are things are sorting out. We're up to 38 votes here. So 29% of you would quiz your favorite guitar player about the riffs and songs that they do. How do you do your riffs and songs, your favorite things? How do you do that? Only 18% would ask your favorite guitar player about the gear they use. Only 18% would ask your favorite guitar player about their influences. But still in the lead, 34% of you would ask your favorite guitar player about their philosophy. I like that. Your philosophical bunch we have here tonight. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, still to come in our closing moments here. Don't go anywhere. My dumb question for you guys. My pro tip for you guys. Oh my gosh. I want to follow up on last week's thing. We're running out of time. Last week's very provocative point. Blair, were you the one who asked, what takes more skill, rhythm or lead guitar? We're running out of time. I better have if I'm going to follow up on that, I better know what I'm going to say. I wonder what I'm going to say. In the book of the week, the devil's note. Oh my God, time is getting away from us. Okay, so let's make these awesome points quick. It's not too late for you guys to get in your questions. Again, if I missed one of your questions, please put it in the chat again with a bunch of question marks in advance. Okay, let's make this quick. My dumb question for you guys. Why wear a guitar strap if you're sitting down? Why would you do that? It's a dumb question, right? You're sitting down. Where's it going to go? If you're not standing up. And to answer my own dumb question, of course, you might not need it. I wouldn't discourage someone from doing that, though. Some of you already do that. Those of you who don't wear a strap while you're playing sitting down, it does give a sense of security. I've noticed some people who wear a strap when they're sitting down, their fretting hand can move a little more freely because whether you need to support the guitar or not, it's a human tendency to want to support the neck of the guitar, to feel that something's going to happen. And if you have a strap, your left hand, your fretting hand, maybe can relax a little bit. So, maybe consider wearing a strap even if you do play sitting down, Okay. Pro tip. This is something, I wish I had an example of it right in front of me because I always get a kick out of this when I see it. Okay. When you see an exact description of a song, a transcription, I should say, you see chords, 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 and then maybe right during a chord change, there's the tab indicates open strings. The guitar player keeps strumming, they hit open strings right before they go to the next chord, for example. That's extremely common. The guitar player doesn't want to interrupt their picking or their finger picking or their strumming. They don't want to interrupt the flow, but they're only human. They need that split second to get to the next chord. Even if they're amazing guitar players and they don't need that split second, they take advantage of the opportunity because they know the listener is barely going to hear those open strings, which may even be harmonious and fit the song anyways. What the listener is going to hear is that nice confident strum or pluck or whatever on the new chord. And that's going to be what the listener remembers. They're not going to remember that little open string sound. Okay, so those zeros that exist in many, many transcriptions, they're not always there to help us. They're not always designed to facilitate getting us to the next thing. Maybe it's actually part of the song. It might be. But we always benefit when they are there. I want to put that out there. The zeros aren't always there to help us, but we always benefit when they are there. Okay. Oh, and to now that I think about it, when I showed you the Bob Dylan version of All Along the Watchtower, and I said, oh, just do the G chords as those open strings and don't bother committing to the whole G chord. Well, there's an example of it. I mean, that is how the song basically goes. So they weren't there just to help us. That's how Bob Dylan wrote the song. And yet they benefit us, right? So that's basically an example. Okay, moving on. Book of the week. Book of the week. This book, I know it's available used. I don't know if it's still in print. The book I'm talking about is called Flatpicking Guitar Essentials. And it's got a bunch of different authors, but it came from the magazine called Acoustic Guitar. And it was published by Hal Leonard, or maybe distributed by Hal Leonard. So Flatpicking Guitar Essentials. I looked it up on Amazon, and Amazon at the moment does have at least a couple used copies. I love this book. I haven't even done every page in this book with students, but the pages I have done, I dig it. I dig it. And I'm going to play for you all. Okay, bear with me, because I'll show you what I'm about to play for you. The contributor for this particular part of the book is Steve Pottier, Pottier, Pottier. And it's a part of the book called Bluesy Bluegrass. And I like this so much. I've done this particular page with so many students. And I know it's always going to be hit whenever I introduce it to the right student. I think, oh, this is the right student at the right time to do this page from this book. And I love it. Okay, so I just wish I had a dozen more examples along these lines. You'll see what I mean. Okay, so you take a bluegrassy folk song. In this case, he chose In the Pines. In the pines where the sun never shines. I'll play it for you. And he shows you, let's call it the straight version. And then he shows you the bluesy version. Because remember, this chapter in the book is called Bluesy Bluegrass. Okay, so here's the straight version. You'll hear me play the melody, and in between the melody notes, he has me strumming chords. Okay, so it goes like this. On the count of 2, 1, 2. It's fine. It's very straight, right? It's rudimentary. I was taking it nice and slowly. Didn't want to play any wrong notes for you guys. Okay, so nothing wrong with that. It's simple, and that alone, for some of my students, that is the challenge. It takes a lesson or two to work that out. You can hear the melody, right? In the pines, where the sun never shines. Well, I shivered the whole night through. And in between the melody notes, you had little chord strums, essentially D, G, and A chord strums. So this is where it gets good. So this is his version of the same song with some bluesy stuff thrown in. Imagine doing what I just did, sing along, life is good, but then it's your turn to show off a little bit. So instead of singing, you do this. Again, on the count of 2. Listen for the melody amidst the bluesy, bluegrassy things that he wrote here. Okay, on the count of 2. 1, 2. Look, Ma, no mistakes. Hi, Mom. I think my mom might be watching. Hey, Mom. So isn't that cool? Oh, my God. So for the record, I don't think I've ever had a student who, and I choose wisely who I present this to. I've never had a student who didn't say oh, that's cool. I do want to do that thing, right? That thing that you just did, I want to do that. Okay, so this book, it's just full of good stuff. And that's one example. Not everything is like that. That's kind of a one-of-a-kind thing. But anyways, that's the book of the week. Flatpicking Guitar Essentials from the Acoustic Guitar Magazine. I think the book is from the 1990s. And it's published in 98 by String Letter Publishing. I think it's distributed by Hal Leonard. Well, this one was, distributed by Hal Leonard. It may not be in print anymore, but like I said, Amazon has, I think, at least a couple used copies. So track it down. Very cool. Flatpicking, by the way, the definition of flatpicking by definition is it's not just using a pick. When you hear the term flatpicking, it very often has to do with bluegrass or bluegrass-related playing. There's some Irish stuff in here. Celtic flatpicking is in here as well. But very often when you hear the term flatpicking, it is very inclusive of bluegrassy acoustic playing. It doesn't just mean someone is playing with a plastic pick, you know. Anyways, that's the book of the week. Okay, checking off my agenda here. Willie, you like that? Yeah. Chris, you like that? In the Pines, some of you might know. Okay, here's a little quiz question for you. All the unplugged albums that came out in the 1990s. There is Electric Band. I'll give you a clue. A grungy electric band. When they did their unplugged album, they did a version of In the Pines. Who named that band? Who was that? Who was the band that did an acoustic version of In the Pines on their unplugged album? Matt Delahunt, you got it. You got it. Nirvana. It was Nirvana did a version of that song. Chris, you got it, Chris. Yeah, there you go. Quite a bit different. Audiophile Man, you got it. Quite a bit different than what I just did. They did the whole song in a minor key, you know, kind of interesting. So, yeah. All right. Getting towards the end, you guys. Joseph has mentioned that he has a 3/4 size guitar that he plays on. Yeah, very cool. 3/4 size guitars. I remember in the I think it was the 1990s, when Taylor guitars came out with a baby Taylor, and man, there are no dummies at Taylor guitars. To my understanding, that was a huge hit. I think they sold a lot of baby Taylors, and I think Martin very quickly came out with their smaller version of Martin. And so when I hear anybody talking about 3/4 size guitars, I'm reminded of that. Yamaha makes a nice 3/4 size guitar. Some of my younger students have 3/4 size Yamaha guitars, which are really good quality for the money. And the size is a really good size for, 6, 7, 8 years old. Yeah. Okay, my friends, I'm almost done with you all. It's almost recess, almost pizza time here in Connecticut. Okay, check. Bear with me. I'm curious. I want to give you an update on the path to 200,000 subscribers. Oh, you guys, we cracked. We need under 100 subscribers. Okay, we're looking for 200,000 subscribers, and the current number is 199,902. Oh, you could be part of the last 100 subscribers if you have not already subscribed to my YouTube channel. It would make my day if you did that. So please consider that. I just would make my day. That's all. It's going to happen. I mean, it's going to happen sometime, probably in the month of April. But I'm excited. As you know, YouTube does not acknowledge 200,000 subscribers in any way, or 300 or 400. 1 million subscribers. They sent me a YouTube play button, the silver play button, when I passed 100,000 subscribers, which is great, very cool. And the next play button award, so to speak, is a long ways off. So I have to have my own party when we get to the 200,000 subscriber mark. So we'll do something special when that day comes. Okay. A couple of these things might have to wait for next time. How about if, for the moment, I don't want to make you crazy, for the moment, I want to table the discussion or what I was going to talk about in terms of what's harder, being a rhythm guitar player or being a lead guitar player. It's a great topic to talk about, because it opens up the discussion to so many things. So how about if we put a pin in that for next time? But I'm curious what you guys think, not only on your opinion, because it's not the kind of question that is just a simple question, even though I'll say it again, rhythm guitar is far harder than lead guitar. But I want to talk about it and see what you guys think. Okay, we'll save that for next time. I want to talk, again, this little concept I want to throw out there. Admiring a guitar player's skill, maybe even being inspired by like how competent they are and all the cool stuff they do. But you might not want to listen to music on a regular basis. You say, wow, that person is so good, but that's not what I'm going to pop on at home when I'm making dinner, you know? The music you choose to listen to is the stuff that influences you, right? So some stuff, you might say, wow, that person can play so fast, but it's not my thing. They're just raw speed and just amazing technical ability. And I fit that category where there's people I admire because I know they've devoted their lives to their instrument and they are extremely skilled, but I never voluntarily listen to their music. It's just not my thing. You know what I mean? So I don't know, the difference between the music that influences you, the players that influence you, and the players that you know are great and they show you on a regular basis how great they are. And that's cool. That's cool. It just might not be your thing, you know? So yeah, there's the music that influences you, and that's the stuff you're going to listen to, on a regular basis. And then there's the people that you can admire for their commitment to the instrument. And the difference, just ask yourself, that amazing video you saw on YouTube of that person doing that amazing thing, would you ever watch it again? Maybe you would, but maybe it's the kind of thing where you think, well, that's amazing, but I don't know. It's a way to there's we're surrounded by so much music, including videos of people performing that music. It can feel kind of overwhelming. There's so much talent out there, right? And that's okay. But one way to make sense of it all, or to just decide, how to, what you want to do with your eyeballs and your ears when you're online, listening to music, watching videos and stuff, it's okay to acknowledge that someone's a great guitar player, but realize, yeah, but I'm not going to return to that, to listen to that over and over again. Whereas something else, it might be, you might hear that and say, that's exactly what I want to sound like. That's the exact thing right there. And that's the music that influences you. But some stuff, no matter how talented the people are, you might say, yeah, but I'm never going to listen to this again. It's just not my thing. I don't know. No thought that popped in my head. Okay, well, let's end with the devil's note. Scott, you still there, Scott? Scott brought up the devil's note, the tritone. Oh, let's tie this in with the G7 chord. Okay, every seventh chord, every dominant seventh chord, assume that you play all four notes of the seventh chord, or even the correct three notes of the seventh chord, or even the correct two of the notes of the seventh chord. Every seventh chord contains a tritone. A tritone is two notes that are three whole steps apart. And some of you think, got it. Some of you are like, I don't know what language you're speaking. That's okay. Your ear will tell you in a minute. The problem with two notes that are three whole steps apart is, at first glance, so to speak, you might not love the two notes. So I'm grabbing the G7 at the bottom of the page here, the G7 that felt like a D major chord, but moved over a bit, middle finger 3 on the second string, ring finger 4 on the third string, index finger 3 on the fourth string. I mean, some of you are already hearing it. I mean, that it sounds, that Mission Impossible sound like sort of Mission Impossible a little bit, right? Okay, so the tension, the musical tension you're hearing is created by the tritone relationship between my index and my ring. Am I right? Index and ring. Yeah, my index is on the note F. That's the D string third fret. My ring is on the note B. In this case, the B is third string 4th fret, F and B. Now, some of you are making peace with this because your ear can adjust to anything, you know. But yeah, F and B are 3 whole steps apart. If you start at an F and go up 3 whole steps, also known as 6 frets, if you're thinking in a linear way, if you start on F, go up 3 whole steps, you end up on B. If you start on B and go up 3 whole steps, you end up on F. You can't escape it. I took some jazz piano lessons from a piano teacher. He referred to notes that are tritones, 3 whole steps apart, as brothers. I love that. Because from a blues jazz point of view, this is a certain type of harmony that's at the heart of blues and jazz music, the tritone relationship, also known as the devil's interval, what Scott called the devil's tone. Is that what you called it, Scott, last week? Devil's note, the devil's note. Yeah. So my understanding is at some point in history, the Catholic Church said, "Thou shalt not write music for the Catholic Church that contains that interval." Don't do it. Not if you want the Catholic Church to fund your music. You know, they banned it. You can't do it. Well, guess what blues music is full of? In blues music, you literally can't escape it. It's not blues music. It's not blues harmony without that interval. Blues music, and therefore any blues-derived music, blues-related music, like everything, but especially rock and jazz. It's based on dominant 7th chords. You can't have blues music without dominant 7th chords. Every 7th chord has the tritone relationship built into it. Every 7th chord, theoretically, is 4 notes, and 2 of the 4 notes absolutely have to have that relationship. That's part of the mathematical definition of a 7th chord. So kind of interesting, huh? Okay, so a tritone. So whether you want to call it a tritone relationship, whether you want to call it 2 notes that are separated by 3 whole steps, the devil's interval, or brothers, which I think is just a beautiful way to describe 2 notes, you know, that need each other, little codependent relationship. They need each other. You know, they show up together. You can't separate them. Not if you're playing bluesy, jazzy harmonies, you know. So there you go. I don't know. I know we've talked about this a little bit in the past. Always fun to bring it up again. The tritone relationship. Okay, you guys, yeah, it's that time. The longer I talk, the more time it takes me to timestamp this tomorrow. So I gotta zip it. Okay, you guys, as you know, this whole thing is being recorded. Please come back and watch it again. I'm gonna timestamp it tomorrow, knock on wood, so that you can jump right to the parts that you want. You guys know this. There's a playlist. I have a whole playlist in the description of this video. I think I already have the playlist of all these live streams. I'll see you next week, April 20th. Good luck with taxes for those of you who are banging out taxes this weekend, either as a civilian or maybe some of you, it might even be your job to do other people's taxes. Good luck. You're almost there. You have my sympathy, empathy, and everything. Say a few good nights. Good night, Thunder Ace. Good night, Audiophile Man. Good night, Bobby Jones. Good night, Deborah, Randy, Scott, Blair, Joseph. Good night, Moon. You ever see that book called Good Night, Keith Moon? Good night, Robbie. Head over to song-bike.com. Get yourself a free copy of the Blues Guide. Why not get yourself something? While you're there, you can consider becoming a member. Don't forget, you can support what we all are doing right here just by getting yourself something. Get yourself the complete Christmas songbook, right? All that stuff is available at song-bike.com. Don't forget to head over to Instagram or Facebook and follow SongBike there. That's how you will find out if I have to reschedule something or anything. Just head over to Facebook or Instagram, SongBike. Do a search for this, all one word, SongBike, SONGBIKE. And you can follow SongBike on Instagram or Facebook. Okay, I better stop talking. All right, to be continued. You guys have a great week. Thank you for being here. Play some guitar. Enjoy the sunshine. Hopefully spring is coming to where you are. And what do you think? Could you deal with this new look? I don't love it. I know there's a lot going on. I know, but it felt good to have this little wiggle room here. We'll figure it out. It's all good. All right, you guys. See you next time. Take care. Be good to yourself. Make good choices, and so on and so on and so on.